What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
The author of the sensational international bestseller and the most compelling non-fiction publication of all time is back in London for the first time in 25 years to celebrate Chariots of the Gods' 50th anniversary. Erich von Däniken Legacy Night. In this 2-hour special, you are invited to share with Erich his most influential discoveries and revelations. Learn about his incredible life journey as an author and researcher. Meet the team behind the highly anticipated Chariots of the Gods 360-degree entertainment franchise. Erich von Däniken Legacy Night, live streamed from the Princess Anne Theatre, BAFTA 195, Piccadilly, London, October 15th, 2016.
Established over 100 years ago, Watkins Books is one of the world's oldest and leading independent bookshops specializing in esoterica. We have the widest selection of esoteric books in the UK, and our friendly and knowledgeable staff are here to assist you in a unique ambience of our shop. So come and visit us in the heart of London as we're open every day.
The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching the UK's only alternative late night talk show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined with Veronica Entwistle. Now, Veronica has struggled like so many other intuitives, doubting her own perceptions until what emerged during a nervous breakthrough was her probing vision as an intuitive. Now, over and over, Veronica found that her answers about empathic and ancient knowings, as well as flashing insights, were right beside her all along. Now, she is gifted with the conscious presence of guides and angels with clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and healing energy. Her rapid style of intuitive counseling has guided thousands to their authentic self. Her work in concert with a vast number of guides and angels takes conscious awareness to new levels, transforming constrictive energy left from old reactions and beliefs to healing and infinitive possibilities. Veronica Entwistle, welcome to the show.
I'm so glad to be here with you. This is fun.
I'm so glad to have you on. We've talked a bit before. We're coming on as I always do with people, and it's we've got to know each other a bit. You know some of my deepest, darkest secrets right now.
Ooh, I love that. You know what's
Great,
funny
isn't it?
about secrets as an intuitive, and you know this, is so many of us share secrets. We don't know it, but we all share our secrets, you know?
I would
Who are
completely,
you
yeah,
really?
yeah,
Oh.
absolutely. We do, and I think we'd be surprised sometimes about what people do and what we've been up to get to the point that we are at now. Um, I think just to begin with, just to get a bit of background on yourself, and I do this with most guests as well. Just tell us a bit about your childhood as well. And I go to your childhood because having read just a few pages of your book, which I've not read much about it, it all starts.
Shame on you.
I know, right? I know it's terrible.
I'm teasing. When I was little, I was Catholic. We were raised Catholic. But I also, my mother and father were very young parents, and they had a lot of us. And mom was extremely angry a lot of the time. So I had that classic childhood abuse thing that you all hear about. But one of the things that I was fascinated by in retrospect, and even at the time, is when things got crazy in our little townhouse, I used to go sit in this ditch outside and I pulled my hat down over my head. And I would imagine and remember, it wasn't really imagination because to me it was real. I would tune into the pictures of where I'd been before. And the colors were so incredibly bright, Kevin. And um, the people that were in it weren't physically like the people that we are. They're mostly they were in colors, you understand, and the feelings of love and I don't know, I just felt so possible there. And I used to know that there were out there in the stars, I knew people out there as well. And that stuff you keep to yourself as a kid because your folks think you're a bit loony, you know what I mean? But the one thing about being Catholic, I
Yeah.
want to say in pro Catholic talk, at least they taught us that we had angels and saints out there. And I'm so excited about meeting a lot of beings on different dimensions that I know that I was primed for that as well.
Okay, so as tough as that childhood was, obviously you've gone through a lot of process of forgiveness and
Oh,
you've
yes.
healed that side as best you can. I'm sure the healing is still ongoing a little bit, is it, in a sense?
Yeah, I don't think you ever really, really get over it. But you know what's great, and I think a lot of people know this, is that it kicks you out of your body. So you start operating in different realms. And if we're lucky, after 7 or so, we can pursue that further. But most people stop it by about 7, don't they? Um, I've had to really dig through my own self in order to release access to different dimensions that I sublimated just due to not wanting to look crazy, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Now this all led to sort of, would you say, early 20s, mid 20s, when you felt very suicidal in a sense. You had taken off on on a world trip, and well, you'd gone to Africa to begin with, I believe. Yeah, and you was
Yep.
hitchhiking around Africa, but there was this feeling of suicide and dread inside as well. Was this the beginning of the sort of dark night of the soul, in a sense, where you reach that point where you lose everything?
Well, you know, that's really interesting because it wasn't quite. It's like when I was about 20, I knew that I was doing everything wrong because our judgment levels were pretty high where I was raised and so on. So, but the part of me that I get a kick out of said, I might kill myself because I didn't, think there was any point trying to live when I was such a jerk. But what if there's reincarnation? What if I have to do all this again? So what to Africa instead? So, and the reason for that is I had taught my first year of school, and instead of staying teaching, I wanted to express something. I wanted to find something. So I thought I will travel to the ends of the earth where I know nothing. You see? So, and fortunately, I teamed up with who was to become my husband. We hitchhiked around England and Scotland and all these different places, then through Africa. came home to get married, you know. So, but the thing about that that's interesting is I didn't work out my pain and suffering from childhood. I tried to just establish a real live world, you know, a normal world. And then he got very ill and died in our early 30s. And then I lost my mind. I was quite crazy for quite a while. And I believe, in retrospect, and in writing my book, that if you sublimate those really deep pains, then you have a big crisis where your identity is now being pulled off of you. Everything comes up. You know, I know other people. Some people just get hard and cold and sublimate everything, and some of us go a little wonky.
Well,
So I was quite crazy for a while.
that's very interesting. He died when you was around 30, yeah?
He died at 33, and I
di-
was 32. Yeah.
Wow. You know, it's what is it about in the 30, getting onto 30 and 31 when you're in that 7-year cycle as well, that it can be such a change in life experience when you turn 30. Something always big happens, doesn't it, for most people?
Yeah, well, I think 28 being your Saturn return is
That's
sort of
right.
like shaking the sheets of what your value structures really are by about 30 or 31. Some people actually mellow, and some people really have to dig deeper to find out what they truly evaluate.
I'm not surprised you lost the plot when he passed away. What was your
That's a great expression, lost the plot. I
Oh yeah,
love that.
well, you lost the plot and also lost everything because well, everything that that was so well, someone that you loved so dearly as well, that was so meaningful at that point. And where did the shift to look at? Well, what was your spiritual beliefs then at that point when that happened? Did you have any?
I always believed in God, okay, but that was always open for discussion because I used to tell him he needed therapy. He hired some of the strangest people in the world. And so I was a very cheeky kind of believer in the higher. And I believed in spirits because my husband used to come and see me. Now, he didn't want to die, so he behaved very badly, then came home to die. So when he came to see me after he died, I'd say, go on, go to the light, go on, go to the light. I said, I don't want to hold him back, right? And but about 3 years later, I listened to him. I talked to him, and we had some wonderful conversations.
Right.
But the actual I knew I was kind of crazy, and the way I tried to put my life together didn't work, because you know your pilings aren't clear, right? So finally, I was having a house put on go into foreclosure, and a girlfriend dropped by, and I was doing alternate nostril breathing, and she said, "Are you crazy?" And I had always been told I was crazy, right? So I said, I might be, but I'm going to learn all about it. So watch me. And then I proceeded to get rid of the house and to go back to the city from which I had fled. And I went into health foods. I started working in a health food store and gobbling supplements and reading every single thing I could get my hands on about how I worked, what tics and belly aches and anything else I had, what can I do about it? I got into, as I said, yoga, the alternate nostril breathing, but I did it all myself because I didn't trust anybody at this point. And I found I had had visions out of control, and I found that if I did it like an amazing dance workout, I still do it today to Van Morrison, but anyway, if I did this amazing chaotic dance, just wild, you know, wiggling my hips and so I could have a waist in the middle of it all. And then calling in the higher frequencies, I could ask questions and get visions that were a response to my own questions instead of visions out of control.
So let me get this right. When the passing of your husband happened, is that when this ability to tune in happened as well? The ability to receive?
Well, actually, what happened is in my nervous state or whatever it was, my craziness, I called it, it was like I had sounds in my head a lot, like I couldn't turn it off. It was incredible. And in my visions, because I'd always had a very visual sense, my father was an optometrist, so that worked really well, right? And it was like I had matted You know what electrical wires are? And there's so many colored wires. It was like they were all matted in the top of my head. It's almost like if I were a robot and something went boing and all these wires broke. I could hear them, I could see them. I didn't dare tell anybody about them because I didn't want to get locked up. And so you could say that was the beginning of the awakening, but it wasn't clear to me. I was just coping step by step. I used to walk a lot, breathe a lot, you know. And the awakening came from, for example, when I did my workout, when I did my nutritional stuff, which was a huge pivotal event. I looked like a character, Kevin. I had a whole big plastic bag full of supplements. And if you and I had been talking and I'd say, oh, little tick in my ankle, poof, I'd take something, some micronutrient. My friends were going, oh my God, you're really in trouble, girl. But you know what I did? I figured out how I worked. And I figured out about my craziness, and the brain began to get calmer. And I found, and this is probably relevant for ADD people, I found that my brain was operating as if like somebody had pulled the ripcord on a lawnmower or leaf blower. I don't know what you have over there, but they pulled it, got it going in my brain, but nobody could help me turn it off. So my brain was going really fast. So I found when I did my chaotic dance, it's almost like my body would catch up to the rate at which my brain was moving, and then we would both calm down.
Right.
And from there, I could start calling in the visions I wanted. I called in certain lights, certain geometric shapes. Some of it just came to me. Some of it just poured into me. But the process was long, like 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah. There was it's a long. It was a long. It wasn't an overnight healing process, and also this ability to connect to your higher self as well. So you must have studied a lot of metaphysical material, a lot of spiritual material.
I did indeed, yes. You know the Yogananda's book, Autobiography of a Yogi?
Yeah.
And let me see, bits and pieces, the I Am discourses,
Oh
and
yes.
some channeling things, some Edgar Casey, a lot about nutrition. I can't even remember all that I studied. I was like a real
Yeah.
grab the book, throw it over your shoulder like a banana peel if you can't get something. Here's the deal. For a while, anytime I went to look at books to see if I should read it, I'd hold it up against me, open. And if it didn't have any energy, guess what? Shut the book, put it back on the shelf.
Right.
So I only read things that had a high frequency energy or an energy that suited me, however we want to interpret that.
Yeah. One that worked with yourself.
So one with the bag of supplements and holding books open in shops, I looked a bit like a noodle. And a few people loved me anyway.
Absolutely,
Right?
of course they did. Of course they did. And what about loving yourself as well? Were you finding that you could love yourself again?
Um, I found a new respect for how I am and how I worked and why I seemed crazy, that I wasn't really crazy. I did understand all about it. You know what I mean? Because I had said to someone, I'm going to learn all about it. And I did. I learned not all because, as you know, we're unlimitable, right?
It
I
seems to
learned
be
some
that
of
way.
it.
It seems to be that way. Absolutely, that we are unlimited. Okay, so
We're not unlimited yet, Kevin.
well, we are when we connect to this greater part of ourselves.
We are, yeah.
We are then. Um,
Yeah.
so how did you, for anyone that's watching this and listening to this now, and they really want to open up to spirit in a sense, how did you then? So okay, so I understand the dark night of the soul because I've been through that as well, where you lose everything as far as you're concerned. You know, it strips away the ego, any that you had left, and it really allows you to look at things in a new perspective and retrust again and open up new gifts. That dark night of the soul opens up a gifts that maybe you had before, but you definitely got them amplified now. So
Right.
so what were some of the gifts that you were that were there now since going through this experience? We've got clairaudience.
Yes, I call it
Clairvoyance?
the family of clairs.
The family of Claire's.
I could
Okay.
smell things, see things, feel things. Oh, the thing about seeing things, I could do this consciously by choice. I learned, funnily enough, I learned that I would not do this work unless I could turn it off. So I learned to turn off my visions and then I could turn them back on. And every day I would do, I think I told you, the chaotic dance workout, but the visualization that I did in it was very acute. So I would just do a wild, wild movement till my endorphins were free and my whole body, I could tell you what state my brain was in. Then I would call in, always called in the guides and angels and the conscious beings and the ascended masters and, all the gang. And I would call them in until I could literally feel them. This is for people at home. You can feel them or you can perceive them somehow, but you need to, for me, I had to have that cognitive sense that what I was doing was actually productive. And I would see above my head a golden, like a pool. I always thought it was like syrup because it was gold color. And then I would have that little bit pour down into the top of my head and fill my head. And when I got that going, I was just radiant. I could feel it. Do you understand what I mean? And so it was a conscious activity that I did daily for a long time before I could just go click and turn it on.
Yeah, yeah. And you had to work on it as well to be able to do this. I mean, it wasn't just.
But you know something, you still have to.
Yeah, you still have to. That's right.
After 40 years or whatever, I still have to.
Yeah, you still. Yeah, that's right. I do. Yeah, you're right there. You do.
You got to clear out the underbrush regularly.
Well, yeah. Well, just to be able to go into that space. I mean, I can go into that space, but I practice makes perfect, doesn't it? I suppose. The more you practice, the easier it becomes.
We're unlimitable, Kevin, and we've already agreed on that. And I think that, for me anyway, is the art of being me is infinitely changeable. So that tells me I need to keep doing that access energy stuff on a daily basis. What you can accomplish now, what I can accomplish now, is probably nothing compared to what we can get at in a while. I'm aiming for bilocation and things like that.
I love it. Well, I wish I could even think of doing something like that, but I think.
Of course, you could think of it.
Well,
That's
you
fine.
can. I think you probably can limit yourself to thinking that you can't do certain things, but for me, I'm just happy just to be able to go through a door that's in my head, walk through it, and connect. And once I'm connected, all sorts of things are available then. In touch with
But
guides.
I want to say could I say one more thing?
Yeah, sure.
That one of the things that happened to me, two of the things that happened to me is in the heyday of my trying to take charge nutritionally and all that, I would go camping or something. And all of a sudden what happened is, bam, inside of people, even if they weren't with me, I could see spiraling, colorful lights going up from chakra to chakra, spirals of color that were so powerful. I loved that. I could almost hear them, but the people weren't around. And that was very important. And also around that time, I started seeing triangles emerging everywhere I went. And and this is for people at home as well, I had the presence of self, beginning to love myself enough, instead of going, I must be a noodle here, I started to go, wow, I knew that those triangles were messages on the way things were balanced in what I was looking at the time. You want them all to be equal-sided, but they're not. There's lopsided. They're like sails on sailboats in the harbor, right? And those are the kind of awakening messages that I had going through me. And they would come time release. That would be 1 year. And then I would break into seeing you, for example, and seeing what you had going on in your liver or all of a sudden, boom, things would open up. I love that part.
That's an incredible gift. It really is. And I guess where did this take you then with these gifts? I mean, were you giving people readings? Were you? I mean, obviously we've got the book to talk about as well in a greater sense. But I mean, what's the journey been for you with this gift?
Okay, so
how
what
have
what
you
I
used it for
started to
others?
do, first of all, I was afraid that I couldn't use it properly and make it a career. I did not want to teach school anymore. I didn't want to do community development. I work with the disabled. I had a bit of a legacy, which we know. But then I married and we moved to the US and I couldn't work there. And I had almost a degree. I needed 2 courses for my education degree. But by the time you wait a while, guess what? The gap widens and you need more. So I thought, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, because I was really big into the alternative health world at this point, okay? And understanding, researching, morning, noon, and night, trying things, taking things, eating things, drinking things, all of the above. So I thought, okay, what I'll do is finish my degree in radio. And then I will communicate these things and everybody will want to know, ho, 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 which they don't necessarily. And what's funny, you'll love this because you've got your own story this way. I did my communication and radio, did 3 internships, and it was so communications and education. And that took me a year and a half because you have to, fill in the gaps there. And then what happened is I went to 1 weekend channeling course, and I only went there for half of it, but I broke open. So you see, I studied radio and I became a radio. And coincidentally, people started asking for some sessions.
That's incredible.
And
that's exactly what happened to me. I did my degree in radio and TV, right?
oh, good. Yeah.
And then that's exactly that. Yeah, then I've become a radio. That's weird, isn't it? That's weird.
Well, I think it's like the wisdom you are
Yeah.
speaks to the world, even though you don't know you're saying it. You're going, oh,
Yeah.
I am anyway.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. You wanted to broadcast, you wanted to get the messages out of what you knew. So going through radio was the yeah. Well, there you go.
I wanted to help people too.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a natural side effect, isn't it? Of who you are is a natural side effect of being of service.
Yeah. And years ago when I was teaching school, I used to watch these kids and I go, this stuff should be interactive. This was the 60s, right? This should be interactive. These kids are just sitting there watching this crap, some of it, and some of it they could do well to interact with. So by the time I got into radio online, and I don't know where you are on this, but probably similar, I wanted to send out higher frequency energies because I knew that would fill people's houses even if they weren't listening, right? I thought, oh, great, that all over the world. And it wasn't happening very much when I started doing it. So I thought, well, that's a really great way to serve. And now there's a plethora, there's a huge proliferation of online radio and television things, which is great. They don't really need me, so I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do next.
Oh, come on. Now, where's the self-love in that?
Hundreds of radio shows, right?
Where's the self-love in that?
Well, I've trust that I've got something else yet.
Oh, okay.
Right?
You're working on something else, are you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, I was going to say to you when you said, that you even with these shows, you still reach an audience of a limited size. Sometimes I'm taking the words and just changing them a bit from what you said, but
Sure.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. I tend to think with it that it's the right size and it's the right people you reach. You reach the right people.
I think that's true because this is probably where you're coming from, is because the ones that you reach really grow with you, right?
Right.
I don't want to be a hero. I mean, I want to be a hero in my own legend, but you know what I mean? I don't want to just be a star. I want to be a contributor in the collective, if that makes sense.
And you are 100%. I mean, how many interviews have you done, would you say?
Probably about 500.
Right, so quite a few then.
Yeah, how many have you done?
Probably just over 1,000.
Yeah. So well,
Probably.
you're ahead of me.
Yeah,
It's not ahead. It's
it's
just like
not ahead,
we're on it, Kevin.
I was saying this to you off air as well. This is, if you can enjoy your job, that's what you should be doing, and I enjoy this part of it, but the other parts of it, distributing it, editing it, getting the guests on, blah 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 blah, making the coffee. It's it build that round trying to monetize it as well, and then having other things because doesn't bring in enough doing it, but you do it because it's what you're meant to be doing, because you just you don't question it sometimes. It's a balance. I think that's the same for a lot of people. And you look at what people have done, and you're like, oh my God, that's so amazing what they've done. It's like, would you really want to do it? I'm not too sure.
I think that one of the things you're doing and I'm doing is being who we are. When people say to me, well, you're getting older, when are you going to retire? And I go, probably if I retired, I'd do what I'm doing.
Right, of course. Of course.
So who would retire?
Yeah.
Because people often retire and drop dead because they're disconnected to who they are. You're not going to ever be that way. You might be tired of editing. You just
I'll have an editor. My dream is one day in the far future, my own editor where I can say, there you go. There's all the shows for this week. See ya.
I have a grandson. I only have one grandson, but he's 11, and he's like massively editing his YouTubes now. And I'm going, okay, let's watch for him.
Well, see, that's if you can get in at that young age into YouTube, which a lot of people are doing. They're inspired by the other people they see on there as well. That's a good thing, man, if they can put a good message out there as well. Definitely. I mean, you see some of these YouTubers, don't you? And they've got massive audiences, and you're like, oh, gosh. I could never think.
But some of it is not going to interact with people on the level you want to and I want to. So
no, that's true. It's not. It's not, and it just goes to show how many souls. And look, people need entertainment. No matter what they're watching, they need to be entertained. So I understand that,
sure.
Right? For sure, absolutely. But I think the greater portion of mankind is at a different consciousness level, and that's not wrong or right. It's just where it is.
I know.
Is that because the souls have come here to choose that particular lessons and experiences that they're at, and they need to be at that level? Possibly. For some, it will take lifetimes upon lifetimes for them to raise their consciousness to look at things differently, as we do. It doesn't make us wrong or right. It doesn't make them wrong or right. This is planet Earth. We come here for the souls to have experience. So it's difficult to look at it as though, why can't the Earth all ascend and, get to some great consciousness level, and everything will be rosy. I don't think that life wants that. I don't think our souls want that. I think it wants that we want it as it is right now, because this is perfect. Even though people are in pain and everything else, even in that there's so much lessons to be brought back to the spirit world to learn from.
Right. I really agree with you on that. It's really hard to know. But I want to throw in one other thing, which is you and I have been talking the whole time about being who you really are, have we not?
Oh,
and a
here
lot
we go.
of people don't give a flying potato about that.
Who are they trying to be then?
Well, I know a lot of people that are trying to be in a certain status, a certain definition of success, a certain appearance. I know a lot of different kinds of people, so do you. And I go, some don't, if you say, and I've said this to people, well, I just want to be who I really am. And people will literally go, what has that got to do with anything, So, and you have to say, okay, their soul's journey, every flower has got its own unravelment technique. But going back to being unlimitable, that's very important to me. And transformation is very, very important to me. So I don't believe in achieving. I better not believe in it because my life hasn't worked that way. But I don't believe in achieving a certain thing, and that's what I am. I want to transform in there. I want to change my deep inner hoo-ha, I want to become and become and become. Matter of fact, I put that up on Instagram, becoming and becoming and becoming. That's what I want.
I love it. I love it. And it's maybe what Neil Donald Walsh, as he received, it's maybe what he would have said. It's becoming you, the greatest you, and reinventing it every time, reinventing who you are all the time, and becoming the next greatest you, and the next greatest you, and the next greatest you.
Yeah, and I always say I'm always at the beginning. I like that about myself. It makes me laugh. I'm Gemini, maybe that's why. But no, it's a soul journey. As soon as I say that, I go, no, 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 no. It's a soul's journey. I want to be new. I don't want to be stuck, and neither do you.
Well, this is why we come back to your book title, My Near Life Experience. How do I know when I'm really me? All right. There's something I want to add to that as well, and not take us off why you called it that. Let's get back to why you called it that. But I just want to add something you said as well. I see it in my friends that when people say to them, oh, look, you've got a really nice car, mate, or, oh, I can't believe you got that laptop. That's like the best spec one. It's amazing. And you see them gleam and shine when people say this to them. And you're like, hang on a minute. You're all based on what assets you've got. Who will take those assets away, mate? Who are you then?
Exactly. I love Ramana Maharshi. Do you ever study him?
No.
Well, he's a guru, obviously, and he's not alive anymore, at least on this physical plane. But his famous mantra is, who am I? And he's very famous for that. And every now and then, that's the mantra I use for meditation. And it's so amazing because if you pull away, and I'll do this with clients a lot, pull away all your identities, or at least identify yourself in every way you can, and then drop it all on the floor. It's very healing. It's really healing, isn't it? For those of us who don't necessarily want to be caged by a position or something,
It really is. It really is. I mean, I always remind myself, I've come here with nothing. I will leave with no underwear. And I am a soul. That's what my true nature is. I was a soul before. I'm the soul energy before I came here, and my consciousness will continue. Even though sometimes I'm like, but would it really? Am I really going to carry on like that? Would it matter if I'm not? Well, no, but I will live from that space as though I am. But there has been so much proof that's come to me. I've been on a journey, I've realized, of finding my own truth. And in that, I've really come to the conclusion that it seems to me, with so much proof as well, that, yeah, there is something greater than this reality that we understand.
Do you see spirits, Kevin?
I don't see them. I know. I've only connected with that greater part of me when I've walked through a door and am able to channel. And that's just a word that's used for what I do. That doesn't mean that word is the only word you can use for it.
Well, I have had the what benefit or the blessing of having spirits come into my life, and sometimes it's been really annoying, or sometimes it's really scary.
Really?
Like what? Yeah, one night I was sitting in this place that I was living in temporarily, and the fellow had died there, this old fellow. And I was sitting on the couch, and he came walking into the room. I went, oh my gosh, it's a ghost. And then inside myself, I laughed and said, come on, you're a psychic, stupid. I said, oh, okay, what would you like? And he said, I'd just like to watch a little TV in my own house. So we sat and watched TV, and he disappeared. And that...
Oh.
I know, it was really nice. And there's a number of ways. For example, my mother was very difficult for me and for herself, really. It was very sad. So when she passed, she used to come and see me, and she would give me a lecture. You should go back to teaching school. You should la, 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 la. And I'd say, cut, not going to take your calls anymore, Mom. Been there, done that. And yet she would also say, I'd like you to call your father and tell him this and that. So I'd say, I don't want to because he'll be mad at me. I go, oh, he's mad at me anyway. So I'd phone my dad and report what she had said. And he was absolutely changed by it. He finally started keeping a little folder of messages. And then years later, 17 years, this is a really important story, not just about my family, but for other people to think about. 17 years after she had crossed over, she came to me and she was this shining pink blob of energy. I said, Mom, is that you? And she said, I want you to know I finally broke through a filter I had against love. And I've broken through. Please call your father. And she gave me other messages for him and other people in the family. And everybody wept and was relieved. And also, the main thing, Kevin, is everyone was changed because we were all hooked down by certain things. You know, you always are by interactions you have with people that are suppressive or whatever, right? Nothing made me happier than knowing my mom is feeling the love and so on that she couldn't feel when she was a young mom, you know? I have so many ghost stories now that just bring tears to my eyes because they're so incredibly beautiful. Some of them I don't even know, you know, they just come to tell me stuff for clients or whatever. And I really feel that back to, I want to be all I can be or my greatest self. My mom is more of her greater self. You know what I mean? Like they all seem to, the ones who come to see me, and you know there's a broad spectrum of all kinds of characters. The ones that come to see me are working their way out of having been a certain way, and they're unhooking those left behind who might be trapped by some of their behavior, if that makes sense. I love that. I'm really excited about it. I don't call it in.
No.
It calls me.
Yes,
you know?
yeah. Very interesting what you've got to say. Yeah, I mean that nature of reality of where we go to when we cross over. I always do say on my shows that I think our understanding of it, I think that there is a larger framework at play that's not been written about, and we're still on the very low surface level of what we think the nature of that reality is. I think
exactly.
It's far
Aren't you
greater.
excited that it's way greater than we can comprehend?
I am.
Right?
Well, even to use the word infinitive, I am. And it may even questions me to then what is this nature that I see with my eyes? You know, is any of this as real as it shows me that it is? Or is this an illusion, but it's a bloody great illusion if it is?
It's a lot of work for an illusion. Isn't it a lot of work?
Oh, well, yeah. Isn't life a lot of work? Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. So I think when we try to get to the question that your book asks, how do I know who I really am? I think we have to, I mean, for me, I don't really, do I ask that question a lot? I do, in a sense, because otherwise I wouldn't be channeling the book I'm channeling called Beyond the Current Understanding of Mankind.
Oh, that's a wonderful title.
Book one, yeah, that's it's a bit of a mouthful, but I'm bringing that through because I'm always have been on a quest to look beyond the nature of what this is and to come up with my own truth. I think we're all trying to come up with our own truth, but this idea of for the audience to say, how do I know when I'm really me? Who really am I? Can we go beyond saying, okay, well, potentially we're a soul in a body having a human experience, but who am I in this experience now? What do I stand for? If I don't stand for my assets, what do I stand for? Why do I do the job I do? What really turns me on and what's my passion is, and that's what it's coming to. The whole reason for being for me is passion. If I've not been driven to do something that I enjoy, I think I wouldn't be able to really, that question wouldn't mean as much. Does that make sense of who I am?
Oh, it does. Oh, can I reframe it just a tiny bit? Which is that when I say, how do I know when I really meet, you know, the old, in Catholics, we call it the 7 deadly sins, your pride, covetousness, jealousy, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Inside of each of us, we have postures, we have ways that we want to be, we have defenses, we have attitudes, we have suspicions and all of that. They aren't really us, right? They're hairdos, they're postures, they're, and so on and so forth. I want to be free of their edict. Does that make sense? I don't want to live my life as an abused child. I don't want to live my life as a crazy woman because of my heartbreak or whatever. You understand? I want to be the me I am that I think I know is a bright, sparky, transformative blob of energy soul, right? But I have a whole bunch of affectations I've established within myself. You see what I mean? So I keep going, how do I get there? How do I know when I'm really me? Who's real here? It's not, like I said to you, I just want to go to God in great clothes. And you and I know we won't be wearing clothes, but it's just like I do have a satisfaction or enjoyment of the material plane, right? But it's not who I really am, and I don't want to be anxious about that anymore. I want to be loving and accepting. It's hard to explain, but it's like being without affect or without, fear and failure and all that kind of stuff.
Do you find that connecting? Do you connect with your higher self?
A lot, yes.
Yeah. Some have termed that the oversoul. It's you, I would say, the best, this purest part of yourself. That's wherever it is, but you could say, well, maybe for ease, we say it resides at home. Home being heaven, and just as a personification of it, right? What healing do you get from connecting with your higher self, and are you able to ask it any questions?
Oh, yes. And here's the healing. Oh, that's a very good question, because healing to me is very often a matter of release. Okay, so my guides always say 98% of the job is releasing, letting go, releasing. So when I go into my higher self, if I do that right now, I feel such an expansion around this little body of mine that's maybe worried about the hairdo and the I just feel this incredible possibility of being a warmth and expansion and an infinite love. Sometimes I chide myself because I'm not loving enough. When that comes up, I'm so loving. I call it training wheels for my consciousness when they come through like that. Do you feel that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, I've seen one of your videos about connecting with your higher self. We're just going to link it below this video. It's on the screen now. I'll put the link on the screen now, because you show the process for doing that. It's a very quick process, but it's nice and easy. I like easy processes, and that allows you and others to connect then.
I like that. Yes.
Yeah.
And I want to say another thing before I don't know if we're getting close to the end, but I know we might be. But I would like to say, as far as aging goes, because I'm older than you, not necessarily wiser, Kevin, but I'm older than you, right?
Yes, you may be older than me, but that's just by age. That's not by our soul level. At the soul level, it's ageless, and we've been around as long as each other in a sense. So there's no age in that aspect.
I had a baby at 41, and I first looked at her when she was born, and I went, "Oh my, she's way older than I am." So there you have it. But what I wanted to say about aging. It doesn't matter if you're young or old, but this is a really relevant thing. Is this releasing process? And I mentioned to you before we started this show that I had a bad knee, and they wanted to replace my knee. And it was really difficult for a couple of years. And what I did, because it was the right leg, which is how you reach into the world, I started examining in myself, right? What am I doing? How am I going forward? And I found myself pulling out my fears, my doubts, my questions. How do you pull it out? You go into your mind and you imagine yanking out feelings, but you don't deny any feeling, even if they're ugly, if they're puny feelings that you don't want to admit, pull them out. And I did that over and over. And I found also people in there, people that were weighing me down or people I felt responsible for, whatever. Pick a person, any person, and just keep pulling them out and pulling them out. And then I found as I wanted to go in one direction, for example, north, it wasn't a good idea. It always hurt more. So if I turned it and it was headed south, my knee was better. So the pain was talking to me. And the bottom line of this is that was a couple of years ago, and I don't have a knee problem now. I have a fragility in it, but I'm not stupid. I don't waste my energy challenging it. But what I'm so aware of in many, many, many people of all ages, if we can pull out feelings that we're stuffing in parts of our body, I know that a lot of older people, for starters, will have a much more physically comfortable reality. I mean, you watch people in seniors' residences and so on, and oh my gosh, Kevin, I look at them and I just want to pull energies out of them. I don't want to work there because I'm so empathic. I don't know, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. No, I know. I always, when I ever see elderly people in those homes, yeah, it always wants me to sort of go over to them and just speak to them. I always feel a great empathy for them. I do.
Me too.
Mm.
But the empathy part is dangerous because if I can sit beside you and look like you, I always say you better look good, because if I'm going to take that much empathy from you, I want to look okay at the end of it, right? But seriously, if people would pay more attention to empathizing, taking on one another's feelings, or when I talked about the matted, crazy stuff in my head, when I look in people who have old feelings in there, they're matted, dense piles of frequency. Those can be pulled out, and those people may not get totally better, but they're sure going to be lighter inside and feel more realized from the pains that they've been through. Because we've all been through a lot, haven't we?
Absolutely, we have.
Even though you're young.
Yeah, but we've all, there's always there's always something in there, isn't there? That could be that we've tried to heal. That's we've not put to bed, but we can bring it back out. But it's still with us in a sense, absolutely. And when you go through a lifetime of that, then I'm sure that process you're talking about, though, for those watching this and listening to this, it's a very easy process, isn't it? It's a bit of quiet space, bit of meditative space, would you say, to start that process?
Yeah, you might say, say you and I have been talking and I have a tummy ache, and I don't feel this way about you, but hypothetically, we can leave and I'll have a tummy ache and I go, okay, I want to feel all of the energy that comes from Kevin, and I don't mean that to listeners that I mean you, but you know what I'm saying? And it'll come up and sometimes it'll feel worse. And you go, oh, good. And keep pulling it up, and then hand it over to your guides and angels. Or I stomp my foot and I demand total release of that energy now.
Right.
And some stuff will stick because we're always one. All of us are one. Well, right?
That is true. What okay. And
do you know who Rosalind Bruyere is?
No, I
She's
do know.
very, very famous teaching chakras many years ago. She wrote Wheels of Light. And one of the workshops of hers that I went to, she said, hey, I'm a Pisces. And people who are in the metaphysics will say, never take on anybody else's feelings. She goes, well, guess what? As a Pisces, I could never not do that, but I learned to do something, and I've done it ever since. She said this, is you read it like mad to learn things about that person, and then you command total release.
Right, okay. Now,
so it's a real action, isn't it?
Oh, of course it is, yeah. You've got to be able to do the walking as well, not just the talking. When you see clients, is this something that you do for clients as well, when you help, if you're having one-to-one?
Yep. Very much so. And if you if you get the energies going with people, their faces change, their eyes change, they, and then you're getting, somewhere.
Oh, no, there's something in it, definitely. I just wanted to cover one other quick topic as well, when we're talking about age as well, is it's never too late and you're never too old.
Exactly. I've got some clients, I know some people in their 90s who have really got it, whatever it is. That's what you take with you. It's not about, you have to get it by 65 or when you die, you're all messed up. Nope. Right?
No.
Because we don't get out of this alive, Kevin.
No, and I suppose as well you could say, well, maybe I'm the one that's saying this, I could say that if you don't sort it out here, wherever you end up, you're only going to be sorting it out there. So don't take it with you.
And the other part of that, I agree with you entirely. The other part of that is that it is actually easier to sort it out here, even though we feel like we're walking in quicksand half the time. So people who come from the other side and work with the people here, that some of my clients, everybody gets free in ways that they don't have to carry through the veil, is it the veil? Through the dimensions.
Well, veil's one word for it, maybe, but veil in the sense that we don't remember why we're here, or we don't remember where we came from.
Right.
Is that something you believe in as well? That there is a veil in a sense to give us this amnesia, in a sense that we stick to not stick to a plan, but there's more free will with the amnesia there.
I have a lot of theories about that, and I'm not really sure what I believe, but I really think it's we're born into quite a stew. It's almost like an obstacle course, and you have to choose the awakening, I think. Some people get a whack over the head, they're fully awake. Not me, boy. You had to pick it out like nut meat from a very hard nut, But it's choices, isn't it, to move beyond it. And a lot of people never do and never will. Maybe not never, maybe thousands of years,
Well, that's true. Life upon life upon life upon life. Going back home, realizing the truth. Amnesia, then again, back to the same old patterns.
And talk about back. You go back to visit your family of origin. And who was it? Some famous teachers past years say, just go home and visit and you will be 20 years back in your progress, because you go in and you absorb the energy fields that is the fabric of the family, and you live in that fabric until you get conscious enough to unravel your connection to it. Doesn't mean we hate the people. It means that there is a fabric and you don't want to live it anymore. You want to unravel it and become more and more of your true nature. Does that make sense?
It does. I always say to myself, right, when I go back home, I'm not coming back. I'm going to put that agreement we had, there it goes in the bin. I'm burning it now. Do you see that? And then probably when I have the full awareness of what it's all like, I'll be rushing to come back. I will be so desperate to come back here, most probably. So desperate. And that's why I with that understanding of being so desperate to come back, I realize how important it is to be here now and to be living this experience, and not to get too caught up in where we go to, even though that knowledge can bring in a lot more help into the way we live in the present moment. But it's so important to be in the now.
Well, but there's one more thing I want to say,
Sure.
which my guides have told me a lot lately. I haven't heard it from a lot of other people, but they say that it's the time of the vibrations on the planet and through the universes that we can literally step out of the decrees of karma, or that subconscious pool that we keep running through our body minds. We have more facility these days to step out of that and not rerun the old programs than ever before. So that could change kind of what you said in a way, like we won't be coming back, because there won't be a back if enough people shift.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. And that's it. And I've heard that said from other people in different ways. So that's interesting. That is.
Good. I like it.
Yeah. No. It's what's coming through more and more. If people want to get a reading with yourself, or they're interested in a bit more information, where would they go for that?
VeronicaEntwistle.com, www.veronicaentwistle.com. A good old UK name, right?
Absolutely, it's an easy one to pronounce as well. So being dyslexic, I was like, wow, a name I get straight away. Yay! It's great.
Yes, I would love to hear from people, and I love my work. I'll never not do it if I can. Stay upright.
Yeah. Well. Am I right to say, though, that you're working on another book, or there's
Yes,
one?
I want to write a book on that's more about, I've already got it started, more on healing and incorporating the multidimensional qualities that we've been talking about. More of kind of a how-to book, but I like to be a little more poetic than that. Does that make sense?
It does. Well, what would you say then, Veronica, could be an important message of your work?
That we're unlimitable, and that using energy, we're energy first, and people second. And if we use the energy our way, if we attune to it, we can become amazingly transformative for ourselves and others and for the whole planet, and run for government, for the whole government. Good gosh. Right?
I love it. I love it.
It's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Well, Veronica Entwistle, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.
I've really enjoyed myself, Kevin. Thank you. And much love to everyone, because that's a component we all need to really work with. All right. Take care.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.com, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.